And we are live. Welcome, mystery and thriller fans. I'm your on-air host, Sara DiVello, and I'm so excited to welcome tonight Valerie Burns, here to give us the inside scoop on the 8th book in her mystery book series, Bookclubbed to Death. Valerie, welcome to Mystery and Thriller Mavens. Tell us about this book.
Well, hello. Thank you so much for having me. I am excited to talk about my Bookclubbed to Death. As you mentioned, it is the 8th book in the Mystery Bookshop mystery series. And for people who are unfamiliar with the series, it's a cozy mystery that features Samantha Washington, who owns a mystery bookshop. And Samantha always dreamed that one day she would be able to quit her job as a high school English teacher and follow her dream of opening a mystery bookshop. And that was a dream that she and her late husband both shared. They wanted to do that. But at the start of the series, her husband has passed, and she realizes life is too short not to follow your dreams. So she quits her job, she sells her house, and she opens the mystery bookshop that they had always dreamed of having. But Sam also dreamed about writing British historic cozy mysteries. So every book in this series features the mystery that Sam is going through and trying to solve in her real life, and the British historic cozy mystery that she's writing. So in book 8 in the series, the book is set in southwestern Michigan, in the fictitious town of North Harbor, Michigan. So if you look at a map, there is no North Harbor, Michigan. I made sure of that before I started, because I wanted no one to say that I was hurting tourism by killing off everyone who came to town. There is no North Harbor, Michigan, but it bears a striking resemblance to Benton Harbor, Michigan, which is a town that I used to live in. And it is there's a tornado, or a bad storm goes through, and it causes damage to the local library. And Sam wants to help, so she offers to host a book club. And the leader of the book club is pretty much a tyrant, and she rules with an iron fist, and she has a lot of demands and that she makes of Sam. And under normal circumstances, she probably would not have given in, but after 7 books, now we're in book 8, and Sam's British historic cozy is about to be published. And Delia Marshall, the book club leader, is also a book reviewer. So Sam doesn't want to get on her bad side. So she caves in to a lot of the demands, and she hosts the book club. And during their very first meeting, Sam, you'll notice there's poodles. There's 2 poodles on the cover. Sam has 2 poodles. These are they were my dogs. These were Coco and Cash but I changed the name to protect the innocent. So Snickers and Oreo in the series. And Delia doesn't like dogs, and she kind of kicks one of the dogs, and Snickers growls at her, and she falls over. She doesn't bite her, but she falls over, and Delia threatens Sam. And dog laws are very strict. You're responsible for the actions of your pet. So Sam is very nervous about this, and as it turns out, Delia actually kind of says, well, I ordered this really expensive book, the complete works of Agatha Christie, and if you give it to me for free, then I won't sue you. So Sam agrees, and but she doesn't meet Delia. Something happens, and she decides to go back home and worry about it tomorrow. But she's awoken when her grandmother, who sometimes stays with her, Nana Joe, stumbles across Delia's dead body. She's been clubbed to death with the complete works of Agatha Christie. And if you're familiar with Agatha Christie, you know that she wrote a lot of books.
Yeah.
I mean, complete works. So her Agatha Christie, her, Mary Westmacott, all of the plays and short stories, the whole shebang. So it's a hefty book, and she is bludgeoned with it. So that is how the story starts. And Sam is considered a prime suspect because she got in an argument with Delia before before they figure it out. And so she's a good suspect. Plus the body's in her bookstore. So.
Oh my goodness. Well, I think this just sounds so fabulous. As a passionate dog mom myself, I would definitely be a suspect. And anybody kicked my dog, I would grab that tome of Agatha Christie's and start swinging. So I can't wait to get into every bit of this and open it up to everybody watching. But first, I just want to welcome everybody. So we are broadcasting live to 6 different destinations across Facebook and YouTube. No matter where you're watching from, you're in the right time. This is the right place. And it is Mystery Monday. Now, because Mondays can be murder, we're going to make them a little less painful here, talking about our favorite subjects, which are, of course, mystery books. Deborah, welcome to the conversation. She says, this book sounds fabulous. Deborah, I totally agree. We have a mystery user saying, this is justifiable homicide. Amen.
I agree.
I'll help you hoist the tome of Agatha Christie's books. Deborah is saying, good evening, ladies. Good evening to you, ma'am. Thank you for joining us. Shay with the hobbies. Hey, girl, joining us from YouTube. She says, hey.
Hey.
So good to have you. Always a pleasure to see your name pop up. Chris, welcome to the conversation. Also joining us from YouTube, saying hello from Cincinnati, Ohio. Welcome to the conversation, Chris. So good to have you with us tonight. Deborah says, this sounds so amazing. Deborah, I totally agree. Shay says, LOL, I am doing the same with my cozy mysteries. I love this.
Yay.
Yay. Shay, I didn't know you were writing a cozy. That's so cool. Dana says she just bought book 1. Thank you, Dana.
Sure.
Now, Valerie, can people jump into the series anytime, or should they read 1 through 7 before getting 8?
I think that you would be able to read book 8 and fully understand, enjoy the story. There's not a lot of backstory that you would necessarily need in order to understand what's going on in book 8. However, I, of course, recommend starting with book 1 because you get all of, the journey with Sam and as she's grown and developed across the books. But can you pick up book 8 and fully understand and really just not be confused? Yes. Yes, you can.
Now, Valerie, how many books are you planning to write in the series? Are we talking, like a Kay Scarpetta 36 book kind of, Patricia Cornwell thing? Or do you know how far you want to take this? Are you just going with the flow? Give us the scoop on that.
So I would love to read books in this series. I am kind of leaving this up to my publisher. So as long as the books are selling and readers are interested in following Sam and Nana Joe and the girls from the Shady Acres Retirement Village who help her solve crime, I would love to. And part of it is that in the book that Sam is writing, it's set at the start of World War II. So in Great Britain at the start of World War II. And I would love to go through the whole war, and just take it as long as I could. I really enjoy the characters and seeing where they're going and how they develop. I did not um, really know where they would go when I started the series. And now they feel like real people to me. They feel like friends that I want to spend time with. So I do enjoy the series and would love to continue it much for many, many more books, but it'll be up to my publisher ultimately.
Yay. I love knowing that you've gotten to, to know them over the over the past, 8 books and that they feel like friends. What a beautiful way to feel about these about your characters. And as Kirkus says, your characters are quirky and the heart of your story. So your ability to render quirky, realistic characters is something that they reference in their review of your work. Congratulations on that, saying quirky characters are the heart of this cozy. I absolutely love that. Publishers Weekly calls your work charming. They say newcomers, this speaks to that question about where you should start in the series. They said newcomers will have fun while established fans will relish the evolution of the characters and welcome Samantha's bright new future. I think your cover models want to get some credit for their work there, Valerie. They're not feeling honored enough for their part in all of this.
Well, actually, the 2 dogs that I had at the time when I first started, they've passed. So these are 2 new poodles that I have. And I got Chloe, that's the Barker, start of the pandemic. And I have a day job that, gives me insurance and that's a steady income. And we went home right at the March of 2020 when I got her.
Oh my gosh.
That if she barks when I start talking, she got a treat to shut up.
Oh,
Now
right, of course.
And we both need to lose weight, and so it's been a battle of the wills between us because I'm like, you've got to stop barking, but I'm really tempted to just give her another treat here. So
yeah, you got to keep the treats going. Oh my goodness, we have award-winning author Tracy Clark in the audience. Welcome, Queen Clark. She says, quirky rocks. Amen. I love me some quirky, lovable characters. Tracy, thank you so much for joining us. I just hosted Tracy. I think I've hosted Tracy 4 times. She just was on for her latest book in January.
Get into that when I started, but I've got a deadline, so I don't have time to read. I got to get my next book done. And so it's waiting. It's like at the top of my to be read pile.
Oh my goodness. Well, it is, you're going to enjoy it. Hyde is so, I think it's Tracy. And I told this Tracy, this is your best work yet. And I'm a huge Tracy Clark fan. I've read all of her books and she just continues to outdo herself.
She's
Sally, welcome to the conversation. That she'd like to know, Valerie, what is the first book in your series' title?
In The Plot is Murder is the first book in the series. And it starts about it really gets into Sam buying the bookstore, and they haven't opened the bookstore yet. So it's just getting started. And she had a difficult time with getting the store at the last minute. The people who she was buying it from, their realtor, tried to cause a lot of problems for her. So it was really challenging. But she ultimately got that done, and she closed on the bookstore. And it starts with that realtor getting found dead in the courtyard at the bookstore. So that's the start of the series. The Plot is Murder.
Thank you so much for the question, Sally, and thank you for the answer, Valerie. So, Sally, I just grabbed the order link from our favorite woman-owned independent bookstore, Murder by the Book. So here is the link to that first book in the series. The plot is murder, and you can click and order it right here. And then I'm actually going to drop the link to all of Valerie's backlist. That's the list of every book that Valerie has ever written. So that's called the backlist. So here is Valerie's backlist, because I think you're going to be so charmed that you're going to want to read all of these. So here is also the link to Valerie's entire backlist, so that you can check out all the books in this series. And this is not Valerie's only series, so you can check those all out. Angela, welcome to the conversation, says, I'm going to read her book. Yes,
Yay.
ma'am. Thank you. Tracy Clark is sending us so much love. Thank you. Oh, Sally says, some advice on the barking: get a pop can and rinse it out, put half a dozen pennies in it, and shake it when Chloe barks.
Okay.
It sounds like we have a dog mom in the audience as well. Thank you, Sally. Oh, hey, we have I'm scrolling through everybody's comments. I don't want to get them. Shay with the hobby saying, I'm feeling so inspired. I'm so glad I caught this interview.
Yay, I'm glad too, Shay.
Yay, thank you. Shay, let us know if you have any questions for Ms. Burns here. Shay says she's definitely adding book one to my hashtag Missy Elliott readathon to be read pile for Black History Month. Oh my gosh, I love that you have a Missy Elliott readathon. That's fantastic. Sally would like some recommendations of mystery British fiction authors. You know what? Oh my goodness, that is a deliciously long list. Well, I'll come back and pop those in at the end of this, Sally, because that's a great question. Now, Valerie, is it hard when I've never written a series myself. I can't even fathom that. Is it hard to balance inviting new readers in, letting them start with book 8, giving some extra, meat for the people who have been with you, books 1 through 7, keeping it fresh, keeping it interesting, not remembering that, Samantha's Uncle Bob died in book 2, but her brother, I mean, how do you have pages of notes? Do you have it on your wall? How do you keep it all straight? How do you keep it all fresh? How do you do it?
Well, one of the things that has helped me considerably is I build a Pinterest board for each of my books.
Ooh.
So when I first started, I was using, index cards on a cork board, and, I had an accident and all the cards are like all over the place. So I knew I needed a different plan. And so I created a Pinterest board, and it's really helpful to have those visuals of, if I describe a car in one of the books, and then 2 books I can't remember what kind of car or what it looked like, I can just go back to the Pinterest board and I can see what that house looked like, or what the car looks like, or sometimes I'll have an idea of what the protagonist looks like. I recently started a new series, my Baker Street mystery series, and sometimes I need inspiration. So I'll get those pictures, I'll build my Pinterest board. While I'm writing, I usually keep the board private, but once I finish, I'll make it public. But it's not like I advertise it, and I don't think there are tons of people going out looking for my pictures. It was a lot of fun when I was working on book 4, which was Wed, Red, and Dead, because Sam tried on, her mom is getting married in that book, and she tries on all these hideously ugly made dresses. So going through Pinterest, there are some real doozies out there, and so fun for me. But
Pinterest. Oh my goodness, I love that. Angela, welcome to the conversation. So Valerie's last name is Burns. Here, I'll pop it up here on the banner. So she is Burns, and she writes under both VM Burns, as in Valerie Marie Burns, and also Valerie Burns. So this is the woman behind the name. Readers gotta read. Hey, welcome to the conversation. So good to see you pop up. She says, Valerie, are you going to return to some of your older series or maybe a crossover character? Great question.
So I have 4 series. I have a Dog Club mystery series. You can tell I love dogs. So I have a Dog Club mystery series, and I wrote 5 books in that series. And I'm kind of done with the Dog Club series. So there are no plans to add any additional books to that series. I also write an R.J. Franklin mystery series, which features a detective, R.J. Franklin, who solves crime with the help of his godmother. And all of the titles in the R.J. Franklin series come from Negro spirituals, and there are soul food recipes in that one. There are currently 3 books. I'm under contract for 4, so I will write a 4th book for that series. And let's see, I also have my new Baker Street mystery series. The first book came out last August, and the second book in that series comes out in June. So there will be at least 3 books in that series, hopefully more. And I guess a big, reveal, I guess, is that I also have a contract for a new series with Berkeley. And so the first book in that series, what is the title? Sniffing Out Murder, I think. A Bailey the Bloodhound mystery.
Oh my God, Bailey the Bloodhound. Oh, that's so darling. Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I'm really bad at titles. So thankfully, I've had some good editors who come to my aid, and they come up with great titles for me. And so my new editor at Berkeley, Liz Sellers, came up with that one. So I'm very grateful, because if you heard some of the titles I had originally come up with, people wouldn't buy my book. So I'm glad that I get that assistance. So
I'm so glad thank you for answering that, because I was going to say one of my favorite things about cozies is their adorable, punny, funny names. And I always think I could never be that clever. Like I could never think of those kind of cool, like little funny, adorable, puns for titles. So thank you for letting me know that. Valerie, Angela would like to know, what gave you the inspiration for this series? Great question. Tell us.
So Samantha Washington dreams of quitting her job and opening a mystery bookstore and writing British historic cozy mysteries, because that's my dream. So I would love to quit my job and be surrounded by mysteries. And when you finish a book in a series, you don't have to go online to order. You don't have to get in your car and drive anywhere. You just go downstairs, grab a book off the shelf, and you keep reading. So that's been my dream. And so that's Sam's dream too. So I get to live vicariously through my characters.
And so many of us dream of opening a bookshop. Let us know in the audience. Have you ever had that dream? I know I have. It would be a cute little bookshop, a little nook with cozy corners and chairs and cushions and maybe, some coffee or tea. And Samantha Washington is so relatable because she's all of us.
I agree. That's exactly what so a lot of my ideas actually come from my life. Like that's my dream. I put a lot of myself, my dogs, into the books, and it's also a great stress reliever, and I find it therapeutic, because when people make me mad, I kill them. So it's therapeutic and cathartic to be able to kill people off without going to jail. And so my workers on the day job, now they're getting my books just to look and see if I've killed them. I changed the names, the initials. So they're starting to see the trend with I've killed a WK quite frequently in my books. And I think he's now trying to see if he can get on the Guinness Book of World Records, because so he pokes at me while we're at work to see if he can aggravate me enough so that I want to kill him.
Maybe WK should just straighten up and fly right.
I know, right? Exactly.
Shay would like to know, she says, my go-to question, what is a fiction book that you think is a great example of craft? I love that question.
Ooh, I honestly am. I know it probably seems weird that I am killing somebody with the complete works of Agatha Christie, but I'm a huge Agatha Christie fan. And it's what got me started with mysteries. And I read and reread them over and over, regardless of whether I know who the killer is or not, because every time I read a book like The Murder of Roger Ackroyd or And Then There Were None, I find something unique, something I didn't catch the first time. I find, man, I missed that clue the first 15 times I read through this. But now that I kind of know and I know what I'm looking for, I find little bits and pieces that I missed previously. And it's just amazing to me how she was able to do that. And you think about the fact that she died, 1976, 77, and still, her books are still being remade, and the movies are being made, and Kenneth Branagh's making more and more money from them. And so it is still relevant, so many 50 years later, and readers can still get something from it. And as a writer, I get something from it when I reread.
Ooh, I am loving this conversation. Shay, thank you for this great question, which has kicked off this really meaty conversation. Valerie, how many times would you say you've read it?
So when I'm writing, I don't allow myself to read new books that, I just enjoy. I reread what I call old friends. So I'll reread. I just recently finished the complete works of, the complete Miss Marple short stories. And I probably have gone through that, and it's a big hefty book, probably 4 or 5 times. I've probably read The Murder of Roger Ackroyd, I would say probably 4 or 5 times. I'm a big, that's a Hercule Poirot. I'm a huge Miss Marple. So Miss Marple's my favorite. So the Miss Marple books I've probably read, I would say 5 times each. And if you watch the movies, they're usually different. So they're not exactly the same as the books. So, sometimes I like to watch and just note the differences. Sometimes I'm rereading to see how she did the red herrings, the false clues. Sometimes how she put the real clues through, and when was the first time she did that, or how did she, present it. So I reread them a lot.
You know what I loved? I mean, I'm loving so much of this conversation, but something that you said really struck me, which is the incredible fact that, this woman started writing, was writing 100 years ago. She has, passed more than 50 years ago, and yet they are still making movies out of her books. We are still reading her books. She is still, as you said, relevant. Mm-hmm. What an incredible accomplishment as a writer to write something that 100 years later is still relevant, is still being made into movies. I mean, that's incredible. What do you think is that nugget, that gem, that nucleus that keeps her so relevant to modern day readers when the world has changed so much, when writing and books and movies have changed so much.
You know, I wish I knew. I wish I could figure that out and bottle it up and do it myself. But you know, I think that she created characters who were, like we were talking earlier, relatable. I think that one of my favorite books is one of my favorite authors is Jane Austen, and I love Pride and Prejudice, and I reread that one too. And one of the things that, you know, you think about, you know, the an entailment of, you know, wealth away from, you know, the women in the family and trying to find husbands for, you know, all these daughters. That's not something that happens today. But the characters are interesting. The characters and the dialogue and their story is still interesting today. And I think, if you know, I tend to spend a lot of time with my characters. I spend a lot of time trying to get to know them and making them likable or unlikable if they're a villain, or just working on character traits and personality and quirks and what makes them not flat and two-dimensional, what makes them real even though they're not real. And so I think that that's what, you know, the great writers like Agatha Christie did. And Rex Stout, I'm also rereading his Nero Wolfe series and trying to figure out what is it about this series that I love so much. It's the snappy dialogue, it's the quirkiness of having this, you know, eighth of a ton genius who doesn't like to leave his house but loves orchids and food, and Archie Goodwin, who, you know, is his leg man and goes out and just does things. But I just love those characters and their personalities, and seeing it makes them real to me.
Mm. I I am so into this conversation. I could nerd out about writing and what makes great writing and what makes relevant writing and what is going to make a book relevant 100 years from now. I mean, this is the stuff that I think is really, really fascinating. Ooh, Angela wants to know, Valerie, what are you reading now?
Okay, so because I have a deadline and I can't read what I want, which is Hyde by Tracy Clark, I am reading a Rex Stout. I'm rereading a Rex Stout with it's the one with the spiders, the spider earrings. No, I can't think of the name of it. But so when I take my breaks from writing and I have dinner, I'll sit there and I'll read for pleasure for a little bit. I'm also really looking forward to reading a book by Yasmin Ango. She
Comes by Night.
I'm looking for They Come at Night.
They Come at Night. Her name. So the first book of the series was Her Name is Night, and then the second book in the series is They Come at Night. Yes. Yasmin is so
G-H-T.
Yes. So that is Yasmin writes an incredible series about Nina Knight, who is a child survivor of trauma who becomes an assassin. And Yasmin is a badass, and you will enjoy that. Like, I'm delighted to have hosted Yasmin for both of those books, and she's amazing.
It's not cozy, so
it is the opposite of cozy. Brace yourself, because it's violent.
It is not cozy. And so normally I tend to stick with cozies, but I read that and I, sent her an email and I said, by the end of that book, I was fist pumping and like, yeah, go get them, girl. And so I was really into it. And I think it's a great series. So I'm really looking forward to They Come at Night.
It's so good. And actually I was so honored that Yasmin just blurbed my upcoming book. And so did Tracy. I was so honored to have these two incredibly talented authors whose work I so admire, to have them say anything about my next one, because they're both so freaking talented. Thank you for all of this, Valerie. This is so good. Okay, we have a lot of questions. We're going to get to all of them. So, Angela must know. So, what is your favorite author and genre to read? So do you prefer the cozies and that British? Oh my gosh, there she is. Look at little Chloe.
This is Kensington. Yes, I named her after my publisher.
Kensington. Oh my gosh, look how
going
cute.
8 on Friday.
Happy birthday, Kensington. Oh, you're such a beauty. Oh my goodness. And I love your little dress.
She's just wants to be held all the time. She just wants to. So this is like her norm. If I could figure out how to type like this, she would be happy.
Oh my gosh, I'm jealous. I'm so jealous, Valerie, because my little rescue baby, my little rescue mutt, who is a quarter poodle, it's my dream that she would sit on me, but she likes to be 5 to 10 feet away. Like, she's a teenager. She's too cool to sit with me. And it's really painful, because I'm like, why don't you want to be on me?
Well, I could let you borrow her.
I would borrow her all day long. Okay, so do you prefer to stick with the cozies and the British Agatha Christie's, or do you read, are you in the, are you, do you go to those, sort of, those thrillers, those assassins, the police procedurals, a la Tracy Clark? Do you read out, you said you read Jane Austen. What's your favorite?
So I love cozies. So I love reading cozy mysteries. I have a lot of cozies that I love reading and rereading. And, I have friends now who, they've got multiple series. And so, I'm slowly working my way through a lot of those contemporary cozy mysteries. I like all mysteries. So I love the puzzle. I love trying to figure out who done it.
Yes.
I don't necessarily like anything that's too scary. Horror, I don't read very often, although I have some friends who are horror writers, and as long as the dog doesn't die in the book, I'm like, they gotta, you gotta tell me up front. If anything happens to the dog, I'm done with your book.
Oh my God, Valerie, same. If anything happens to the dog or the cat or any animal, I cannot I don't care what you do to the humans, but the dog has to be okay.
Yeah. In my Baker Street mystery, I will, do a little bit of a spoiler and say that, I had a moment with Baby, the English Mastiff, and I'm typing away, and I actually had been sprinting with my friend Kelly Garrett, who writes amazing thrillers and suspense, and she pretty much writes everything, and she has cozy mysteries too. She's like, okay, stop. I'm like, I can't stop. I just did something to the dog, and I got to keep going so everybody knows nothing bad happens to the dog. And she's like, if you let something bad happen to the dog, they will take away your cozy card, and you will not be allowed to write anymore. And
no,
I'm
that's serious.
Here that I might have killed 3 people, and even shot someone who we like in the book, but doggone it, you better not let anything happen to the dog. So
yeah, please. Oh my God, I cannot read any book in which something bad happens to an animal. And and Kelly Garrett, who also came on the show, when her book came out, they would take your cozy card back. They'd probably take your author / human card back.
Yeah.
Like, that would not be cool. Someone just posted in my Mystery and Thriller Maven group, which, by the way, is free and open to all. Everyone should join. I will post a link right now, because that's where we continue the conversation about everybody's favorite mysteries, everybody's favorite reads. Here, I'll pop the link in the comment right now. Someone just posted, oh my God, that this book that they were reading had a lot of violence against animals. She's like, I'm going to put it down. I can't do this. And it's like, yeah, exactly. We cannot have violence against animals.
No. animals. No animals will be, harmed in my book. I
Thank
tend to
you.
read cozies a lot, but I do love mysteries. I love PI books. I read outside of the genre. But I don't have as much time to read outside of my genre. I'm also a mentor at Seton Hill, which is in Greensburg, Pennsylvania, in their writing popular fiction MFA.
Mm,
And
wow.
so, they highly encourage us to read outside of our genre, and it is helpful. It is good to read romance or, the occasional not so violent horror and um,
Exactly. Exactly.
sci-fi and fantasy. So sometimes I find it
Wow.
good to read something completely different.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Um, Shay says, yes, I love all this work for you. I cannot wait to become a fan. Yay, Shay. Thank you.
Oh,
I'm loving that as well. And Lynn, welcome to the conversation, saying, I'm taking scent work classes with my dog. So I'm looking forward to the Bailey the Bloodhound series. Oh my God, that's so cool that you're taking scent hunting classes. How fabulous.
yes, it is. I never did scent work, although I thought I did. I used to compete with my previous two poodles with agility and obedience, so performance events. And some of that is in my dog club mystery series. But I always wanted to do search and rescue. And while I thought my one of my poodles probably would have worked out really good because he had a great nose and really loved tracking, I don't think I am made out. you know,
Right.
I could really, tramp through the woods to find, missing people or children or anything, and definitely not cadavers. But
Oh gosh. Oh
that
yeah.
I have nothing but the highest respect for people who can do that because it's such a important thing to do. And interesting point I learned
Ooh.
is that there are dogs that can do search and rescue. Their dogs' nose are so good that there is a study that they have actually been able to find remains from thousands of years ago from archaeology sites. And so just think about how, if they're able to, if this really works, what that could mean for archaeologists, that they can use dogs to find buried remains from, you know, the King Tut's era.
Wow. That would be so freaking cool. That would be amazing. Wow.
Right?
Um, Shay's saying it seems like the key to a series is finding a cute theme that you can replicate, and that is her struggle right now. Yeah, that would be tough too.
Yeah, I think that it's, for me, I don't I love, watching my characters to grow, right? So I love, where Sam is now in book 8 versus where she was in book 1. In book 1, she's grieving. Her husband has been dead for 6 months in when that book starts.
Mm.
And she's grieving and trying to figure out, what her life looks like now. And so now in book 8, she's, been through some things. She's gotten friends. She's, you know, starting to recognize that she can have, her heart is big enough to incorporate
Oh,
something else into. And so I think that, your characters, if they're, dimensional, they can grow, and you can put them in new places and see what they become.
mm. I love that. Shay, thank you for the comment. And Valerie, thank you for that explanation. Readers Gotta Read says, One of her relatives loved the RJ Franklin series. I gifted her the second and the third. She's excited to pass on the news of a fourth. So thank you for that, for doing that. Now, Valerie, I noticed that you include soul food recipes in the series. So are these your recipes? Do you cook them? Do you try them? Do you invent them? Or tell us the story of the recipes, because I love to cook.
So, in the RJ Franklin series, a lot of the recipes are family recipes. When I was growing up, though, my mom was not a recipe kind of person. So my mom couldn't say, put 2 cups of this or whatever. She'd say, well, you just taste it and see what it needs. So, some of them have been trial and error. Some of them, in, I think it was book 3, I was actually, and my mom is passed now, so unfortunately, some of it is lost, but I really wanted to learn how to make dressing. And my sister and my mom, one of their things was my sister used to do a big Thanksgiving dinner for her in-laws, and all of her in-laws would come over, and my sister she didn't like to cook. So that was like the one day a year that she was going to go all out and make the big meal. And so she learned how to make dressing like my mom's. And on Thanksgiving morning, they would call and talk to each other while they're making dressing. So that's their memory that she had. So, a few Thanksgivings ago, I actually went to my sister's house and watched her make the dressing. And she doesn't measure either. So as she's dumping stuff in there, then I would get up and I would get a little spoon, or we'd to try and figure, that's about a half a cup. And we basically recreated it so I would have measurements to be able to include it. I think it drove the rest of the family crazy, because they're like, look, maybe you need to come up with a better, way to do this, because we're hungry. But I got that recipe down, and then over time, I've gotten some that were donated, and I try to put the person's name. So Mama B is the godmother in that series, and her daughter, actually, because that she's based on a real person. She's based on my godmother. And so her daughter gave me a recipe for banana pudding that I put in the series. So sometimes I get them given to me, and sometimes there are things that I make. And then sometimes I'll get a recipe that I, find online or whatever, and then I try it and I'm like, well, maybe it could put a little more of this, or I think it needs a little more of that. So, finding kind of the starting point, and then doing some things to make it your own.
I love that. My Nana DiVello my grandmother was an incredible cook, and also didn't measure anything. And it was all just, how do you know when it's done? Well, you feel it, like, the the spirits whisper. It's time, stop with the salt, stop with the garlic. And I cook the same way. I love to cook. Food is my love language. I love to cook. I love to eat. So I'm excited for this inside scoop on the recipes. So let's go back to the conversation about the bookstore. Samantha Washington being the sharing your dream of owning that bookstore. Chris saying, oh my gosh, Sarah, I love that bookstore description, and those are so hard to find anymore. I miss the comfy couches to spend time on for hours. Exactly, Chris. Yes, that's the magic of these bookstores, and now we get to live out that time on the pages of Valerie's books. Angela saying, that's my dream, to own a bookshop by the ocean. I can't wait to get to your bookshop. This is a great question. What advice would you give, an aspiring writer? I have tons of ideas, but they don't get beyond that point. Valerie, what wisdom do you have to share?
So the best advice I ever got was, write the book that keeps your butt in the chair. Writing is hard. And a lot of people dream about writing. They, one day when my ship comes in, when I hit the lotto and I can afford to quit my job and sit home and write all day, my advice is just put it on the page. Just get those words down. Don't worry about trying to make it perfect. Don't worry about it being, formatted properly or anything. Just write your story, and because you can always change it. You can edit it once you get it out, but you cannot edit a blank page. So you know, just do it. Just sit down and write the story that's in your head, and it will, I think you'll find that, it'll morph and evolve and become more as you work with it, but you kind of have to just start someplace. So my advice is just sit down and just write it. Don't try and make it perfect, because if you wait for, the planets to be aligned, then you'll never write.
I love that advice. Angela, thank you for the question. And Valerie, thank you for that wonderful advice. And how about this, Angela? When you write your book, when, not if, and when it is published, I will interview you. Hit me up and I will interview you, ma'am. Deborah wants to know, have you read The Christie Affair?
I have not read The Christie Affair. I think that's the book that talks about the 2 weeks where she goes missing.
Yes.
And so I have not, although, like I say, I am a huge Agatha Christie fan. So I have researched the heck out of her and tried to learn as much as I possibly could about her life. So unfortunately, haven't gotten to it yet.
So I hosted the author when that book came out, and it is, as you said, it's a hypothesis of where she was during those 10 days. And it's also much more than that, going into, this is common knowledge, so this is not a spoiler, the affair that Agatha Christie's husband was having. And subsequently she left him. So I would be very curious to see what your thoughts are about that. Deborah, thank you for the great question. Angela saying, I am such a book and writing nerd. To be in on this conversation, I am in hog heaven. And she says, your Kensington is so cute. I love this. Thank you for sharing. I totally agree, Angela. And Chris
snores. So snoring right now.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Chris is, we're all loving this. Look at sending us love and hearts. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for all these wonderful comments. Chris saying, oh my gosh, she studied voice at Seton Hill.
No, most people think I mean Seton Hall and they keep changing it. So that's amazing that there's someone who knows where Seton Hill is.
This is so cool. Angela's saying, oh, wow, to be mentored by you would be amazing. Wouldn't she be an amazing mentor? I totally agree. I'm like thinking to myself, how can I apply to be Valerie's mentee? Chris wants to know, what PI novels and authors do you like?
Well, I'm quite fond of Tracy Clark and her cast writing.
Amazing.
I also love Rex Stout and Sue Grafton. Love Kinsey Milhone. I thought she's just amazing. And so PI, and what was the other PI?
You know what? The questions are coming in so fast. I already scrolled past. Let me go back. But I think that's a great list of that you're giving us to start. Let me scroll back and find it because I will. You know what? Give me we'll come back to that one. But meanwhile, Tracy says she is making out tonight. I know, Tracy. This is welcome to the first meeting of the Tracy Clark fan club. Thank you all for attending. We have Melissa joining us from Australia saying good day. Good day to you. And look at that cute little doggy. Thank you so much for that. For joining us all the way from across the world, where I'm sure it's already tomorrow morning. So Chris's question was PI authors and novels. So that is the question that you, so you answer the question. Y'all, we are out of time. We are actually way over. Tracy's laughing at me saying this is the Tracy Clark Admiration Society. Angela saying, thank you for the writing advice. And her mom and dad are the same way. They just cook by feeling. And it's been so hard to learn to cook for me. Angela, I think we're sensing it. I'm seeing in you a fellow perfectionist, perhaps, and someone who wants to get it right. But you know what? I think for maybe on the page and on the stove, maybe it's time to just let yourself just be a little freer and just experiment and see what happens. Maybe give that a try. I know it's hard. Oh my gosh, no, Chris, I knew what you mean. You're totally good. I know we're all excited. Yay. Y'all, we are out of time. We are actually way over time, but the conversation has been so juicy and we've all been having so much fun. I'm just loving the energy and the advice and everything happening here that we were not going to stop. So just remember to order the book tonight. Here's that link one more time. To grab your copy of Bookclubbed to Death and all of Valerie's fabulous backlist right here from our favorite woman-owned independent bookstore, Murder by the Book. Valerie, what a pleasure to host you. You are so amazing, and I've loved the depth and the breadth of this conversation, and to see your beautiful little Kensington and Chloe. Deborah saying, thank you so much for a fabulous time. Our mystery user saying, arf, arf, goodbye, and thanks. I love this, y'all. I will see you next Monday for hashtag Mystery Monday, because Mondays can be murder. So stay tuned. I've got some incredible authors coming up. Walter Mosley's coming back on March 6th. What a pleasure to host him again. So you're gonna want to be here. So so be sure to join in. And tomorrow we have JT Ellison's launch party. I'm going to be here on a Tuesday. What's happening? And then Veronica Henry with a foreign exchange, giving us the scoop on that next week. So we got a lot of good stuff coming up. Angela says, sound great. I will hold you that interview. Please do. I will be here. Y'all, thank you. That is our wrap. I will see you next Monday. Take good care till then.